It has been just a little over a week since the official theatrical release of Godzilla Kong: The New Empire, and it looks like director Adam Winguard has already started to plant the seeds for his next big Monsterverse project. Being a huge lifelong fan of Godzilla and Kong and monster movies in general, the last few months where we were lucky enough to witness some of the most amazing Godzilla projects has honestly been nothing less than a fairy tale for me. But there is something that makes me even more happier than all of that. Unlike the case with the MCU and most other movie franchises these days, whose fans always seem to have something to complain about, Monsterverse fans seem to be clearly having a blast with these campy, fun and crazy monster movies without trying to act like they hold a freaking PhD in monsterlogical science. I am absolutely loving the fact that the Monsterverse fanbase is not in any way trying to justify or worried about the logical and philosophical depth of these movies and are having an extremely fun time, which clearly reflects in the amazing worldwide box office collections of The New Empire. And to add an icing on the cake, there is something very special which I have to share in this video that is going to make all the fans of the Monsterverse even more happier than being invited to a romantic dinner by that special girl you have always had a crush on. If you are ready to listen to this exciting update and scream in excitement like a 5-year-old kid once again, I suggest you to spend just 1 second of your time to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, because that is the only motivation for me to work harder and to bring you more and more such awesome content. So, first of all, I am going to start with something that I have also mentioned in my last 2 videos, which is basically the major takeaways from director Adam Winguard's recent interview with IGN just a couple of days after the release of Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. So, this very handsome gentleman over here, who is our savior and our architect of 2 of the most entertaining monster movies in history, Mr. Adam Winguard. So here is a screenshot of what he said. I am not going to read out everything that he says because I have already done that in my last few videos. What he basically mentions is that, in the next movie he plans to do something very similar with the big G to what he has been doing with this very beautiful hairy gentleman better known as King Kong in his last 2 Monsterverse projects. Long story short, he basically is kind of confirming that at this moment he has some interesting ideas for another Godzilla movie, which as a matter of fact would make up a trilogy of Godzilla movies within the Monsterverse. In this video I am going to take his statement a step further by showing you something much more important that he said yesterday during an interview with renowned media outlet, discussing films. So these are basically the exact words which he spoke during the interview. I am going to summarize his entire statement and highlight the most important points and analyze what it could mean for the future of the franchise going forward. The first thing he says is that Godzilla vs. Destoroyah is one of his favorite Godzilla movies, which I completely understand because that movie is one of the few things in life that I consider better than drinking hot chocolate coffee on a cold winter night. The movie he talks about is basically the 1995 movie titled Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, produced by Toho, where our beloved Big G goes up against this hideous giant oversized kaiju known as Destroyah. Winguard further reveals that the movie is one of his favorite because of its emotional depth and beautiful visual storytelling, which once again completely resonates with me. I am not going into any more detail about its storyline because I want you guys to find it out for yourself. If you are a Godzilla fan, trust me, you really do not want to miss that movie. Coming back to his statement once again, I want you guys to focus on the last couple of sentences where he makes a very interesting revelation that if in case he were to make another one of these Monsterverse movies, which at the moment seems pretty much confirmed considering the successful run of Godzilla x Kong at the box office, he wants to have a similar kind of an emotional touch to it as the Godzilla vs. Destroyah movie. Does this mean that he has officially confirmed that his next movie will introduce Destroyah into the Monsterverse? Absolutely not. But since he did mention about Destroyah so specifically, I believe the iconic kaiju definitely 100% without a shadow of a doubt will be introduced within the Monsterverse at some point in the future. It could be in the very next movie that comes out a couple of years later, or it could even be 20 years down the line. He simply states that he wants his next movie to be much more emotional, which actually is in sharp contrast to his last few Monsterverse movies. But I totally understand Mr. Winguard here, because as a director you always want to expand your area of expertise and explore new genres. The first and most important quality of a good movie director is his ability to connect to his audiences on an emotional level through his movies, which is exactly what Mr. Winguard is trying to achieve with his next Godzilla movie. Having said that, I actually believe that Destroyah is in fact not going to be the main antagonist of Godzilla Part 3. I say that because this particular titan which we are talking about is way too powerful and one of the most popular monsters in modern-day pop culture. It would be really stupid to bring him into the franchise in just its 6th movie. As much as it hurts me to say this, but there is no denying the fact that the Monsterverse is still pretty far away from reaching its maximum potential with regards to building up a major fanbase similar to big cinematic universes like Marvel, DC or Star Wars. If you take away Godzilla and Kong out of this franchise, There is unfortunately no other character at the moment who I believe can carry a big theatrical movie entirely on its own and manage to make a mark at the worldwide box office. When you are going to introduce an iconic, powerful final boss like Destroyah, you would want fans to be fully invested into that epic once-in-a-lifetime event similar to what Marvel fans experienced before the release of Avengers Endgame. I believe introducing Destroyah so early on is almost as stupid as trying to get back with your ex-girlfriend who basically punched you right in the face for not wishing her on her birthday. What the Monsterverse needs to do at the moment is develop more unique and original characters of their own rather than relying on kaijus from the Toho franchise, because that way they could have more control over them without having to worry about copyright issues. Mr. Winguard and Legendary Studios has actually done a pretty great job with the introduction of Titan Shimo, who was exceptionally well received by fans. I really believe that Shimo could definitely carry at least a miniseries on her own, if not a big theatrical movie at the moment. I mean, if you think about it, a prequel miniseries primarily focusing on the origins and evolution of Shimo would answer a whole bunch of interesting questions about the existence of the Hollow Earth. At this moment I am going to have to go through a few spoilers from Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. If anyone watching this video have not yet had the chance to see the movie, I request you to leave the video at this point and come back once again after you are done watching. With that little warning out of the way, let us get back to the main topic. At the very end of The New Empire, it is pretty much established that Godzilla would take up the responsibility of being a protector of the surface world, while Kong on the other hand would rule over the kingdom of the Hollow Earth. So it goes without saying that the next Godzilla movie would most likely be focused on some kind of an event that would take place primarily on the surface world. So with that in mind, I believe that Apex Cybernetics once again would somehow play the role of the main antagonist. If Legendary Studios are smart enough, they could have Apex Cybernetics responsible for the introduction of Biollante, who is another very popular kaiju from the Toho universe. For those who are not familiar with this very handsome gentleman over here, let me give you a quick overview. Biollante was basically created by a crazy scientist inside his laboratory by genetically fusing the DNAs of Godzilla, a human and a rose plant into a single cell. This is where I believe Legendary Studios can bring in Apex Cybernetics and have one of their arrogant employees carry out some crazy experiment which would eventually give rise to this massive oversized 420 feet tall mutated plant monster. As you can see, Biollante, much like Godzilla himself, was formed primarily due to exploitations on Mother Nature by human beings. So, their rivalry could actually be pretty intense and emotional if Legendary Studios decides to come up with a more dark and intense script, this time kind of similar to the first Godzilla movie of 2014. That is all I had to share in this video. Let me know your own thoughts regarding the future of the Monsterverse in the comments down below. And please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.